And welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. And today is the first day where
the rest of your... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It's the first day where you can become a winner of the 12 days of giveaways at NorthcentralPa.com. We're going to go over all the rules. We're gonna still talk about some stuff like we normally do. But today's main goal is to make sure everyone understands how they can win and also talk about the question of the day. What are some of the things you look most forward to for the holiday season? Before we dive into that, Mark, how are you feeling today?
Well, my back hurts a little. Is that what you wanted to know? Well, I don't know why.
Wow. It might be because you are 50.
Oh, you know what's in my car? I forgot to bring this in. I got my first AARP thing in the mail.
Did you really?
That is like... And my son handed it to me. I said, you might as well just slap. He didn't even know what. He's like, what is that?
Okay. He didn't realize what he was doing to you.
No, he was just kind of innocently handing this to me like, here, this is yours. I mean, he could have just punched me in the gut. It was like,
And that would have been, it's funny, like he didn't even realize that would have been the insult of his young teenage career.
He would have been like, hey, Dad,
he had no idea.
Look. You've got mail.
Yep, and he missed out on the opportunity.
He's like, what does AARP mean? It means shut up, kid. That's what it means. Get off my lawn?
You said your back hurt. Turning 50, do you notice, like, has your mindset, like, when something like that happens, like when your back hurts, does the first thought that goes through your head, like, oh my God, I'm 50?
Well, partially. But this is my funny story with it's not, I don't say in my back. It's way down in my pelvis.
Okay.
And it's right behind. So this is years ago because it bothered me a little bit. So, of course, I go into panic mode because that's what the internet does. And I'm thinking, so how old would I have been at the time? I'm mid-40s.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, my God, what if there's something wrong with my kidneys? Like, what if I'm – because, like, it wouldn't – stranger things have happened. What if there's a problem? So I go in and I go to the doctor and I sit down and I got the first appointment I could get. So it wasn't with my doctor. Okay. It was with another doctor in the practice. So I'm not panicked, but I'm legitimately worried.
Sure.
Because I've had this pain that won't go away. And all I'm imagining is I have a tumor in a kidney. I have something. So I go in and I start telling the doctor, I'm afraid it's my kidneys. Where is it? And I point. And he goes, well, your kidneys are way up here. So he goes, I don't know what it is yet, but whatever it is, it's not your kidney. So immediately, I'm like, well, then I can just go because I feel better. So they put me through these tests and I go, would it be an X-ray or would it be an MRI? I don't know all the differences. Sure. They put me in a machine and they look inside. So they come out and they're like, oh, you have a pre-arthritic condition.
Okay.
And it's flared up and that's what. And I'm like, oh, what do we do for that? He's like, nothing. There's nothing you can do for that.
No, there's nothing at all.
I said, so I just live with this for the rest of my life? He's like, yes, and hope it doesn't flare up often. I was like, great. Yeah. So that was the first. So that's what it is.
Okay. How old were you when you had to do that?
I was 40-something.
Okay.
I'm trying to go back and think. It's probably been 5 years. I'm going to say 45.
Okay.
And... and the other thing was I went to high school with the girl who was the tech that was running me through the machine. Okay. She's like, so what's wrong with that? I was like, my back hurts. She's like, oh, good for you. Take your pants off. I'm like, here we go. In the machine you go. And I was like,
great.
It was a very proud moment in my life, let me tell you.
There are subtle things. So obviously, because I do think there's a gap, like when you go to your 20s to your 30s, your 30s, like things you notice. One of the things that I have most noticed, because I've kind of stopped playing basketball the last 2 years. COVID kind of ended my basketball career. Like I don't really jump in open gyms. I don't go to the rec, anything like that. The first thing that I noticed where I was like, oh, this is old age. I lost within a year, my flexibility diminished so much that I was like, oh, this is how, like most people don't stretch every day. Like most people, right. I was fortunate, like, I would stretch with the team. Like I was doing all these different things. And so like when I lost that flexibility for the first year, I was like, oh, like this is what people talk about when they say like their hips hurt and like they can't, move. And so I have tried to add some stretching back into stuff, but that was like my subtle kind of like, oh, wow, like this is what happened.
Wait, basketball wise, the first time I really realized I was old is because you just can't get off the floor anymore.
Mm-hmm.
and there's no, like, you can't go up and get rebounds. You can't go score over anyone.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah.
That's really
It's
gravity.
brutal.
As you get older, gravity takes much more of an effect.
Oh yeah, that's dead on. So here's the deal. We are doing the 12 days of giveaways. Last year we did the holiday
Starting
countdown.
tomorrow. Today
Yes,
you
starting
register.
tomorrow.
You win tomorrow.
So we're doing the 12 days of giveaways, and last year we did the holiday countdown. I forget how many days we did. This year we're going to do 12. We're still going to have 3 winners every day. Last year you had to go to Instagram, you had to go to the newsletter, you had to go to Facebook. We're not doing
That was a cluster.
It's a one-stop shop this year. All you have to do is come to the video that you're watching right now. You can like the video, you can comment on the video and answer the question of the day, or you can share the video. You can do one or you can do all 3. Obviously, if you do all 3, you're giving yourself an opportunity to win, a much higher percentage chance to win. So we're going to make it so that every day we come on, we're going to pick a winner from everybody who liked it. We're going to pick a winner from everybody who commented on it. And we're going to pick a winner from everybody who shared the video the following day. Does that make sense?
We should add a 4th category.
Really?
We should pick a winner from everyone who hated the show.
Oh, don't say that. This is about holiday time and Christmas spirit.
Yeah, but there's those Scrooges out there.
Listen,
that hate Christmas.
we have some shows. We can go back and we can find people who hated the show.
I know.
That's
We should give them their moment. We should spread the love. No, I'm just kidding. But I guess they could have a comment that you guys suck. They could be like Stadler and Waldorf of the Muppet Show.
You joke, but we address those comments sometimes more than the comments of like "Have a great day." The "Have a great day" comments are boring. The ones where it's like "You two are stupid," those are the ones that have legs
and validity.
Actually, I think we were idiots. You two are idiots.
You two are idiots.
And we're still not clear if they were talking about the band or if they were talking about us.
Because they wrote out you and two.
That is true.
But as I joke about Stadler and Waldorf, who were the 2 Muppets that sat up in the balcony, who seemed to go to every show, even though they hated the show.
Yes.
There was that, if you ever watched, have you ever seen Private Parts, the Howard Stern movie? The people who hated the show actually on average listen longer
more
than the people who loved the show.
Absolutely.
And you talked yesterday about rooting against teams you hate harder than rooting for teams you like.
Yep. Absolutely.
So there is that aspect of people.
100%.
It's not for well-adjusted people, but it's for people like you.
It's for people who just need a little more edge in their life. Is that I'm a little too basic. I need something to put me over the edge. So I root against the other team.
There are people who like anger. They enjoy being angry.
So today's, you'll see on the screen, question mark OTD, that's question of the day. What are some of the things you look most forward to for the holiday season? Go ahead and comment, let us know. Once you comment, you are automatically entered to win for that part. So one of our 3 winners is going to be somebody who comments on the show. We have a couple of people that have already dove in. Shopping for our cheese, for our chais. Is that childs?
That would be my guess.
This is the other part too, though. Sometimes that's the dogs. You ever heard somebody call their dog? So I'm curious, Debbie, if you're still listening, tell us what the chais are.
She's tuned out already.
You don't think so?
She quit.
She commented and she bounced. She's like, I already have it. Robin says, I love ugly Christmas sweaters. That's a great point.
You know, it is within maybe the last couple of years, the ugly sweater, they're making fashionable ugly sweater. Now they're just loud. Okay. Like my mom has a closet full of legitimate ugly sweaters with the trees and the things on it.
I see what you're saying. The goal of the ugly sweater now is more like branded or themed. It's not as much.
Very well said. Yes.
It's not just that it's a clashy sweater of like colors mashed together and
right.
Okay. I see what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I forget who it was. I'm going to have to find out. Somebody had a sweater that was just like an old sweater. And someone had said to them, I think it might have been one of my aunts, but somebody had said to them, like, I love your ugly sweater. And their aunt was like, this is my Christmas sweater. Like, this is one of my favorite sweaters. But it is like,
I'm sure that happens a lot. People show up and think it's an ugly sweater and someone's really proud of it.
I believe that.
My mom
happens quite a bit.
My mom is 78 years old, and she would break out Christmas sweaters that the rest of the world would classify as ugly Christmas sweaters that she thinks is rocking.
Okay. Yeah, I don't doubt that for a second. So then we also have Heather says, I most look forward to being off work for the week.
Bum. Lazy.
It's a good
Bum.
point. That's a good point. This is one of those.
Lazy.
I will say that this year, if you look at the calendar, Christmas falls on a Saturday. New Year's falls on a Friday night.
No.
Friday
New Year's
into
Eve is
Saturday.
Friday night. Yes, because Christmas
So
and New Year's.
New Year's goes Friday to Saturday. As a student, you should be miserable.
This is the worst.
This is the least amount of possible days off you can get for Christmas vacation.
Well, I just heard this because I was asking people this about, my kids are in Montoursville.
Mm-hmm.
Montoursville's off the 23rd.
Okay.
Because they're always off Christmas Eve, obviously, no matter when it is.
Okay.
But I think they're off the date, which is a Thursday, which there's no real need to be off the 23rd.
Oh, no, you don't have to if you don't need to be.
But that's what I think they're shutting it down on the 22nd.
Okay. Just probably to meet the number. I mean, you only have to go to school for 180 days.
I know, but you could have just chopped one off at the end, I guess.
I
don't
agree.
know.
We sat down the one
But you're
day-
right. When it's on Saturday,
The bookends are horrific when it's
sucks.
on the weekends.
It sucks.
My buddy and I remember I think I was a senior in high school. We sat down and we were trying to figure out when you actually want Christmas and New Year's to fall because the two are so many days apart.
I think Wednesday.
You want it, but it's not because we figured that out because then New Year's doesn't quite reach the following weekend.
Yeah, but they're not bringing you back for a day, are they?
A day or two, they might. I think, if I remember correctly, you want Christmas to be Thursday because what that does is it pushes the day after New Year's to Thursday or Friday.
Correct.
And they're
not going to bring you back for a day.
And so then it goes
Thursday's
into the
probably it. Because they're not going to bring you in on Christmas Eve either.
Correct.
So then they might bring you in Monday, Tuesday, but you're not doing anything Monday, Tuesday.
Yes.
Because what kind of heartless Grinch? You're right. I think you're right.
We sat down the one day and we were trying to figure it out when you actually wanted this stuff to fall.
And when you sat down and figured it out, right in the middle of class.
Oh,
when you should have been paying attention.
Honestly, I think it was my mom's home ec class because I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the show.
You had your mom for class?
I had my mom for, well, I mean, we graduated. I think in my graduating class, I want to say it was definitely below 50. The number 42 always sticks out to me. I believe my graduating class was around 42.
Okay.
But
anyway,
you
finished in the top 30.
But the point I'm making, there's one home ec teacher in the whole
Did
building.
you have to take home ec?
Yes, there were 2 classes I had to take. Everything else was electives. There were a couple of cooking classes, stuff like that were electives.
But you had to take home ec.
There was, I want to say in junior high, in 7th and 8th grade, it was very much kind of like a basic needs class. So you learned how to sew, you learned how to do basic kitchen functions.
Everyone should have that class. Kudos to, you were North Penn, right?
Yes.
You were just North Penn.
At the
Kudos to them because everyone should have that.
Yeah,
they should have. Well, they don't even. A lot of schools don't even have home ec anymore. Do they?
No, it's disappearing.
If they have home ec in schools anymore, cooking should be, even if it's just a 9-week class. The ability to turn on a stove, to make a grilled cheese, to cook an egg, just the basics, to boil water and make spaghetti or any sort of pasta.
Sure.
That should absolutely be a high school class.
Yes. And then the other class that I had to take with her was it was a parenting, it wasn't biology because it wasn't, but I do remember having to watch the parenting videos and having to watch we had to take you had to take care of the egg for the night and then they had this doll and it would cry. Do you remember that at all?
Listen, I remember when my daughter had the crying doll.
Uh-huh.
I think she had it for a weekend.
Yep.
And I think she was with her mother that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I was eternally thankful.
Yeah. So I do remember and so I had to take those classes with my mother as the teacher.
I know. I've told you that there should be also a 9-week class on relationships. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, not just a boyfriend, girlfriend, things like that, but how to deal with parents, how to deal with friends, how to deal with siblings, how to deal with older siblings, younger siblings, how to deal with bosses in the future, because just so many people have no guidance at it. And they do, they leave a job and they think, I'll never need this person again. And they tell them, F this and F you and all this stuff. And they totally burn the bridge. And then 2 years down the road, they're applying for a job and that guy's this person's best friend, and they're like, and it costs them. And they people just don't understand the networking of, oh, hey, I would, because we put references on job applications, but just in life, like I would hire that person in a second, or I wouldn't hire that person if they were the last person on earth. And it lingers and it stretches.
Sure.
So anyway, be that as it may.
No, it's a good point. So Mary says, getting ready. This is a whole subculture, actually, because we might have to have. I think Jerry was talking about this the other day, because there is a whole subculture of Christmas cookies that I was very unaware of until last year.
I will say this, and I forgot about this. She reminded me.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary. It was a family tradition to make sand tarts.
Okay.
And my grandmother, when she passed away, however many years ago, 10, 12 years ago.
Okay.
But like, she was in charge.
Okay.
And you had your stations. You were either the roller and the cutter. You were you smear egg whites on it so the decorations stick.
Yeah.
You were the decorator. You were the baker, and you
had your role.
It was a conveyor belt scattered around through the kitchen. And it was like, you got the dough ready the night before. Like, we had a starting time. It was, you like almost punched a time clock. Like, we are going.
Okay.
And it was every year. And, my brother was there and his kids were there and his wife was there. And then my grandmother passed, and then it started to be like, but now that they're older, and I have a niece is way out of college, and my nephew is graduating this weekend, and my, kids are home from college. And it may come back. Sure. Because like when you're young, it's fun.
Sure.
Because when you're 10 and everyone's around, then you're a teenager and it's the furthest thing from cool.
Okay.
Like, oh, I'm making cookies with my aunt and my grandmother today. And now you get to the point, once you're kind of in college, and it may be cool again.
Sure.
So we may bring back, that is a good one. The Christmas cookie, the family Christmas cookie bake is cool for the people who do it.
Had no idea it was a thing until last year. Now, like in my household, we did chocolate chip cookies, which I loved, but like this idea of all these different. First of all, I had no idea until last year there were that many different kinds of like Christmas cookies.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, I knew there were a bunch. I didn't know there were as many as we learned last year when people are like, oh, we make these and we make these.
Yeah.
And then you get the people who make 30 different kinds.
Right.
Yeah. So
like, I always just thought the cookie trays were kind of more, obviously they weren't pre-made, but it just never dawned on me that those were considered like Christmas cookies. Right. I just thought like those were different types of cookies you could get all time of the year, and here's a cookie tray.
And nothing helps the health and fitness industry for New Year's resolutions like Christmas cookies.
Yeah. Yeah. Very,
because
very true.
You just can't, when they're on a plate and they're just sitting there. And I'm sure there are some Christmas cookies I don't like.
Sure.
But 90% of them are not only just good, they're damn good.
Sure.
So you just can't walk by and not grab one. And then once you grab one, it's hard to not grab another one unless you keep walking.
I'm pretty good at walking past the cookies. Now,
you are a better person than I am. Then.
Everything else, like a brownie tray, like there's certain things, like if I see a chocolate chip cookie, I'm grabbing it. So I understand the sentiment you're expressing, but the actual Christmas cookie tray, I don't love the Christmas cookie tray. Like the ones that really bug me, the ones with the Hershey Kiss in the middle. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get that. If someone could explain it to me, I don't understand.
Because they're the best.
But what, like, no. Like, do you know why you have to put a huge Hershey Kiss in the middle of it? Because it almost makes it like a tolerable cookie. Like, if you took all the Hershey Kisses...
tolerable, if you mean delicious, then yes.
If you take all the Hershey Kisses off of those cookies and it's just a tray, no one touches it.
Well, if you take all the chocolate chips out of a chocolate chip cookie, no one touches that one either.
Yeah, but it's a different quality of cookie.
If you take all the peanut butter out of a Reese's peanut butter cup, it's just a Hershey bar.
I guess. It just doesn't, I don't understand.
Oh my God. I was just thinking when you were talking about, and you talked about a tray, and I envisioned the tray, and right away I envisioned those.
Slow down. How do you eat it?
Well, that's a challenge.
Okay, there's the first problem.
This is what I tried. Oh, it's not a problem. It's a challenge. Life is about challenges. I try to bite half of it without like knocking the rest of it off. and like dislodging it. That's the word I'm looking for. So I try to bite like half the cookie and half of the Hershey Kiss.
Okay.
And then, but you can't get half because you can't go all the way down. You got to kind of chop into the side. But yes, that's how I try to do it.
It's difficult.
It's delicious and it's worth all the effort.
Mary says, I bake at least 300 dozen. This year I have 18 varieties.
Okay. There is a helpline for you. And 300 dozen.
300. It's a lot. I'm sure she has a system though, right? She's got the trays, she's got it moving, she knows what goes in when, and I would guess. You don't think so? You know what's the sneaky underrated ones?
3,600 cookies.
I love the M&M, like the red and green M&M.
Yeah.
Christmas cookies. Love those.
They look
Really
better
love
than
those.
they taste.
Really? You think so?
I mean, they're fine. It's
Okay.
a different version of chocolate chip, but it's
interesting.
Snickerdoodles are way high on the list. If she's making 18 varieties, then Mary must be making Snickerdoodles because they are.
I'm telling you, listen, I'm not even saying I'm right. I'm just telling you.
I'm telling you, you're not.
I have missed the cookie tray relevance.
I wonder
I just don't get it.
Mary's still listening. I know that. I wonder how many my mother would on the Santart. She loved to put an almond on it, or a walnut, or whatever. I don't even remember what, a macadamia, whatever. And it ruined them. And at the end, when you're still eating them, like the only ones left had the nuts on it.
Okay.
And then some of them, when we were little kids, you would take one out, you would eat around the nut and then throw the nut away. And I wonder if it's just me, or I think nothing ruins a Christmas cookie like a big walnut or a macadamia or whatever they're called.
I'm pretty sure it's a pecan.
Could be a pecan.
I think it's a pecan.
Could be.
I think it is.
You know the only bad type of ice cream? Butter pecan.
Never had it.
Awful.
Helen went with the old classy spending time with family, especially grandchildren. There is something. Can I
go ahead?
There is something about the holidays that are very like grandparent, grandchild, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I think of Christmas time, and God bless my parents, my first reaction is never my house with my parents. My first reaction is always at my grandparents' house.
See, when I was a kid, my one grandmother was divorced, and we didn't see my grandfather very much.
Okay.
And my other grandfather had passed away before I was born. So on Christmas Eve, my two grandmothers would come. When we were little kids, they would come stay at our house.
Okay.
So first thing in the morning, we could rip right in.
Uh-huh.
And that's how we did Christmas morning. So up until we got to be old enough that the parents could say, like, calm down, they're on their way. But like 4, 5, 6, 7, every Christmas I woke up, my two grandmothers were there.
Yeah.
So that is an early childhood memory of it that I have.
Like when you think of Christmas, do you think of your parents first or do you think of your grandparents first?
Well, I would probably think of my grandparents because that made the day unique. It was the only time they ever stayed because they were both in Williamsport. It's not like they were scattered and came to visit and stayed with us. It was the only night every year they
It is a very, when you think about parents they have to play Santa Claus, right? Credit, so, you're doing this thing and the credit is going to Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
What makes the day special is the uniqueness, whether it's different people coming to the house or doing different things. It is a very sacrificial holiday for parents. You are certainly in the background of the day. Does that make sense?
That's pretty much life as a parent.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with that statement.
It is a thankless job.
I get that, but Christmas is extra thankless. Is it not, in a weird way?
Yeah. One of the funny things, especially when you have little kids and you get all these really cool things. And I can remember one time we thought, I don't even remember what it was, but we thought we had this really cool gift for our daughter and we're saving it till the end. And she opened the first thing and it was some toy and she was good. Yeah. That was it. Like she just wanted to play with this toy and all the other stuff be damned. Like you can have all it. And we're like, no, open this. And she was so young that she might have been like 3 and she was like, good, I'm good. Yeah. And so you do get those. Yeah, it's fun. It obviously doesn't always work out like it's supposed to, because
Sure.
nothing always works out like it's supposed to.
The
And
best
ones
is-
that you think are hits that weren't. And when you get a present for someone that you think they're really gonna, and they kind of open it and they're like, "Oh, thanks," and then they set it down, and you're like, so that, yeah, it is weird.
You know what should be outlawed is wrapping paper with brands and characters on it, because the worst thing that happens, a kid's really into Mickey Mouse, so and so gets Mickey Mouse wrapping paper, and then what happens is when the kid opens it up, they're obsessed with the wrapping paper. They could care less about opening the actual present. Like, there's the person I love is on this wrapping paper, and now that becomes. You've never seen that before, like
No.
with the branded wrapping paper.
I've seen branded wrapping paper,
Okay,
but
you've
I've
never
had-
seen the kid more
No.
impressed with the wrapping paper than with the.
No.
I've seen it a dozen times where
No.
the kid's just more enthusiastic about the fact that their favorite character is on the wrapping paper.
Yeah, this is going to sound corny, but as Helen talked about spending time with family, especially grandchildren, the day before Thanksgiving, when I was talking to my basketball team about,
Mhm.
and I told them, like, this day is so much more for your grandparents than it is for you.
Mhm.
Not only your grandparents, but great aunts and uncles, and I was like, get your head out of the TV for 15 minutes, put your phone down for 15 minutes, and talk to them.
Right.
Because it will be their best 15 minutes of the day. And I know, like, you don't look forward to spending time with your family on Thanksgiving. You're off school and you want to get with your friends and do all that stuff.
Sure.
But also keep in mind, they're not going to be here forever.
Mhm.
And so that is a speech that I give every year before Thanksgiving, and then I'll give it again before Christmas. So
Look at you.
I do get that. And kids just don't appreciate it. Like, they don't.
No, I think it's tougher. The whole world's in front of you when you're a kid.
Yes.
It's very difficult to almost narrow in and
it's impossible to appreciate. Like, how could they? Like,
Right.
I get it. So it's I think it's an important reminder.
No, I agree. As we're on here, I know you had mentioned John Lennon.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Today is the 41st anniversary of John Lennon's death.
Okay.
It was, as the world knows, it was announced on Monday Night Football. Howard Cosell broke the news to the world. I would argue that it is the most famous non-political assassination
Okay.
in world history. Is that possible?
Without seeing, I mean, it's certainly, you are correct that it is up there. I would have to look and see.
I mean, there have been other deaths. Obviously, Elvis had an early death that was tragic.
Mhm.
He's just
the word that you
Michael
use there,
Jackson,
assassinate, is
like
what makes it
Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah.
But John Lennon was,
Mm,
yeah, he was a Beatle.
I understand.
So, and obviously there were political assassinations that were, but for him, yeah, it was. I was also thinking this, one of the fascinating thing about the Beatles is not, and I'm not a huge Beatles fan, but I appreciate what they were.
Yeah.
I think they were done by the time McCartney turned 25.
Okay.
And I think McCartney was the youngest by a year or two.
Okay.
But now there was always this, I think they kind of understood we'll get back together at some point, but right now we need to kind of go our separate ways.
Sure.
I think John Lennon was also part of he had the most hated second wife in work, next to Camilla Parker Bowles.
Okay.
Who everyone knew was having an affair with Prince Charles, while Princess Diana and the world loved Princess Diana. And I'm not even going to say the world didn't even love. I don't know what John Lennon's first wife's name was, Julian Lennon's mom.
Okay.
But the world blames Yoko for the breakup of the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there was ever a more beloved figure with a more hated spouse than John and Yoko.
Huh. It's just, I'm so far removed from it. And the funny part is, even when I dive into the Beatles, it's very hard you can listen to the Beatles all you want, but it's hard to really understand like the aura that came along with them.
And
like,
I'm not old enough to get it either.
Yeah.
I knew of it.
It's so funny because I can relate it to Michael Jackson. I can relate it to Prince. Like these other people, I can very much relate what that, growing up as a Michael Jordan fan, like just what that, the Beatles is the first thing like in history, pop culture that I personally can't put like myself in that. I just can't wrap my head around how popular they were. I can't. I understand that they were, but it's very difficult for me to sit down and like say the Beatles were more popular than X. And I'm not debating it. It's just hard for me because it feels so distant to me.
In this instance, X equals everyone.
Right. And see, that's hard for me. It's because it's just far enough out of my reach to really understand that time and that period.
And I obviously wasn't around in the early 60s either, but I think when you look at culture and kind of, the 40s was dominated by World War II, and then the recovery in the 50s was, I don't want to say there was a lot of stiffness to the 50s. It was like the white picket fence and like, we're like, this is how life is supposed to be. The Beatles were essential. I know Elvis came in the 50s and kind of shook the world up a little bit, but the Beatles were the beginning of the 60s, of the hippie generation, that they were just like, and it was their stamp on the youth of America at the time, was like, hey, this is the Beatles, and they're young and they're, and they do whatever the hell they want.
Right. There's like the whiny, annoying millennial in me, because I'm at the very precipice of that generation. The whiny, annoying millennial in me, I just can't imagine when I think of people that were famous through the 80s and 90s, and you look at what TV did and all of that, and then you go into like 2000s, 2010, and you look at getting the internet and phones and it's just hard for me to grasp that someone was more popular then than what anyone at the precipice could be right now. It's hard for me to imagine that John Lennon was more popular than LeBron James. It's hard for me to
it's
hard for me to grasp that.
But I think too, there was so much less competition.
Right.
So
they were
and they were pumping out albums like every 6 months. Like it was insane how much productivity they had in a short time. And I think too, because of they had kind of the shark in Jaws quality, that their appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show is iconic because you never saw the Beatles. Okay. You heard them on the radio, but you didn't. So like when they were on Ed Sullivan, like the world stopped, and there were just enough glimpses, and then there's all this mystery. Whereas now there's overloaded information, and it's almost, you're kind of bored with the inundation of it. Yeah. So I think that kind of played into their legendary status as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It'll be interesting, like as time goes on, because now you can find anything you want, right? Like you can go back in history, you can find movies, you can find music, you can find old sports games, whatever it is you're looking for.
You could find your flexibility.
I probably could if I looked hard enough. Actually, I'd have to really care to find it. That's the bigger issue. But I think it'll be interesting going through. I think now the way everything's documented, right? Like if 40 years from now, someone wanted to go back and try to get a feel for what it was like to be Taylor Swift, it's just significantly easier for them to wrap their head around it than it is for someone right now to go back and try to wrap their head around what it was like to be Elvis or the Beatles or someone else, because it's just not as documented. Like it is. I'm not saying it's not.
No, I'm with you.
But it's just not all there. It's not as simple to. So it'll be curious as time goes on. It'll be interesting to see. Like they say, some stuff is timeless. We're really going to test some of that in the next 20, 30, 40 years. Like how timeless some of this stuff really, really is.
Yeah, I can't believe the Beatles aren't going to be timeless.
It'll be interesting. No, I would agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting though to see.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Because you're going to get to a point where you're just getting to a point where there's going to be people that never actually saw the Beatles. Nobody. And so how does that...
But at the same point, we've all seen the Beatles.
Correct, but it's not as well documented. 40 years from now, I'm going to be able to get on something and I'm going to be able to see a full live version of Beyonce, like there. Like it's going to be like I'm there, right? Because of these Netflix specials and these concert specials, and
I
like
bet
you
she
see where I'm
can't wait
going?
for that.
I bet
The concert special where you're there.
Right, but you get what I mean. And so you're going to be able to literally put yourself kind of as if.
No, I get what you're saying.
And
well,
so
you don't think they'll be able to do that with the Beatles?
I don't know. They just did a really good documentary on them.
Yeah,
and
I haven't
think
seen
that's
it yet.
okay. And I think that's like a first step, kind of trying.
You
to
know who
bring
directed it?
No, who?
Peter Jackson.
Oh, really? Nice. Lord of the
Something
Rings.
about they found something. He's like, if you need me, call. I'll do it.
Okay.
And I heard like an interview with him, and he's like, "Yes, I will gladly do it, but please call me. Does anyone else want to do it? I'll do it tomorrow."
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, he was Lord of the Rings. He did the one King Kong remake.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, he's a little bit famous, and he was jacked to do it.
Yeah. So I think that aspect will be neat, just to see what finds its way to cling on, what holds on, because it's going to be so watered down 10, 20, 30 years from now. There's going to be so much to listen to and so much to watch. It'll be interesting to see what actually is. It's easy to say something is timeless when there's still people around that were around for it.
Now, right now, I just want to know, when you said Klingon, I immediately thought of Star Trek.
I knew you were going to.
And I wonder how many other people did.
I knew you were going to say there. Thomas says having the tree lit all day takes away the winter dreariness. That's a good call. Do you leave your Christmas tree on overnight?
Overnight, no. And all day, no.
Interesting.
I've never had the Christmas tree on all day.
Really?
You have to wait till it gets dark so it takes effect.
Well, I mean, you don't have to. That's what you do.
Well, you have to.
No.
That's you have to.
I have the tree on pretty much if I'm in the house, the tree is on.
I've never done that.
Really? You should. It's nice. I'm shocked you've never had just in the daytime, just tree on.
What? I mean, maybe it's because mostly I had like a job and I was not home during the day.
Well, there's Saturdays and there's Sundays and there's holidays off. And
I have never, because it's a big deal when it gets dark enough that I would turn the Christmas lights on outside and I would turn the Christmas tree on. And
wow.
in our,
I don't know if I
had a living room full of little ornamental things that had lights that glow. Oh yeah, and it was like it was time. Oh, it's dark enough. It's time. And then you went around and turned everything on.
I don't know if I agree. That's interesting. I don't know if I agree. There's only so many days. If the tree was around, like if I had lights on like a random plant or tree or something, I don't think I would do it. But the fact, like the tree's only in your house for a month.
Well, no, my tree's in my house for 12 months. It's just only in the living room.
In the living room.
The rest of the time it's in the basement.
Really, really proud of that. One of our Facebook users says, I wake up, turn it on, I go to bed, I shut it off.
So it's on the entire waking day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't leave it on at night. And I'm sure that's kind of an old time fire hazard fear. And I can't believe that the lights now, because you see, you might not remember the old bulb, the Big Bear, like
they'd heat up.
They got hot. Like you touch those and you were running to the sink. Like they were hot.
Isn't it amazing the things we used to do?
I mean, you only did that once.
You used to put hot lights on a dried up pine tree in your house. It was watered. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. With tinsel hanging down over top of it.
Dude, we talked about this. My dad, the first car I ever remember my dad having was a Chevy Blazer.
Uh-huh.
And in the center console was this big, I guess it was essentially the glove compartment wasn't in the dash. It was between the two seats.
Okay.
And when I was little, my dad would drive, my brother would ride shotgun, and I would sit on this plastic glove center console thing, and I held the four-wheel drive shifter thing. Mm-hmm. It was automatic, but if you wanted to go into four-wheel drive, that was a standard thing on the floor. Uh-huh. And that's how we drove around. I had no seat belt. Right. I had no child seat. I had nothing. If there's an accident, my head was smashing into the windshield. But that's how we drove everywhere. Right. And when I was in my mom's station wagon, I would stand on because she always jokes about this. Because back then the station wagons they had full seats across the front and full seats across the back. There weren't individual seats in the front.
Right.
So I would stand on the back seat and lean on, like, right next to my mom and just kind of like talk the whole time and blah, 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 blah.
Wait, you would talk the whole time?
Can you imagine that?
No, I cannot.
No, it's crazy. I've come out of my shell.
That was good. Heather says the only full day we have our tree is on Christmas Day. Otherwise, it's just once it gets dark. So there you go.
She's right.
Maybe
She's
I'm
right.
the weirdo. I just assumed people had their tree on.
This is how crazy it is. I've never even considered it. I'm going to have to give it a look.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the crazy, I feel the same way. Like, it never crossed my mind that you would only have the tree on during when it's dark. Like, it's still a tree. It's still a Christmas tree, and a Christmas tree has lights. Like, why would you not light it up?
See, now this is going to be a stupid question because you love the darkness. Like, you would be a bat if you could. So then when it comes time at night to watch TV, like, I don't usually watch TV in the dark.
Okay.
Usually I don't go adjust the lights and I just kind of, but I watch TV much more with lights on, or at least some. During Christmas, I would have everything off except the tree and the other Christmas lights in the room. So that's part of the beauty of the tree,
the ambiance,
because it's only on like when it's dark, and it kind of carries the room now.
I don't disagree with you. I am, it's funny you say, like, I like it dark. One of the bigger adjustments that I've had to make with my girlfriend's family is when they watch stuff, they'll keep the lights on, because it helps you stay awake. All those, like, some people don't like sitting there. I totally 100% get it, but I am a, like, movie theater, like, projector, lights off, volume up, like, watcher of something. And so it has taken me time to, like, adapt to the idea of, like, having two lamps on as you're watching like a show.
That would be a non-Christmas poll. Yeah. But how many people watch TV in the total darkness other than the TV and your phone? Or how many people have other lights on in the room somewhere?
Okay. I don't know. I like the theater aspect of, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm zoned in. The lights are down. Like, we're doing this. I still struggle with people who like to talk during movies.
No! Are you enough?
For the most part, I don't really. I try to just let it run its course. I very rarely do I actually say something, but listen, I'm not condemning people who do it. I'm just saying, like, I am not one of those people. I could watch a 3-hour movie and never say something.
I could too.
Yeah. So, there's just different kind of movie.
My mom, God bless her, my mom would do that. She would just, like, if she has a question she's going to ask you, she's going to ask it. And she would come down and there were times, God bless my daughter, she would hear my mom coming in and she would scramble for the remote so she could hit the pause button, because she knows my mom isn't peeking at the screen to see what's going on. She's not checking out. She's coming down and she's firing out her question. Yeah. No matter what. And it could be something like, hey, did you talk to your brother lately? And it's just like, it's coming. And it doesn't matter what you're watching. It doesn't matter what the tension is in the show. It doesn't matter anything. Yeah. She has a question and it's coming right now.
One of the, it's like, speaking of, like, distractions or things that, one of the things that I'm very, very good at, I can not look at my phone for 3 hours when I'm watching a show. Or
not me. Again,
no, most people can't. Like, I like, even my friends, like, when we go to a movie, like, the phone is in the lap, and if a notification goes off, like, everything else, we went and saw the Bond movie, and, like, the phone never left my pocket. And, like, I go deeper than vibrate. I, like, completely silent notifications.
See, I think you're saying this. I think you're lying, and you're just saying this just so the times that I text you and you ignore me for hours, this is like your excuse.
No, it is. I'm very good. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's like, if the lights are on, and it's just kind of in the background, it's there. But if I'm like, hey, we're watching this, we watched Red Notice, my phone, I didn't know where my phone was when we were watching Red Notice. It all depends on the situation. But I have noticed, like, less and less people in my life are capable of not having the phone with them while they're watching something.
I wonder, this is a bad question for you because you won't answer. This would be a good question for your girlfriend. I wonder how many people can make it an hour through church without looking at their phone.
It's a good question. I think I would imagine, I'm not a churchgoer, I would imagine people have a moral incentive to not. I would imagine it's higher than the people who can't do it when they're watching a show.
Oh, I would
guess.
agree that there's a societal pressure not to.
Correct.
I don't even fight that societal pressure. I just pull my phone out and look.
You
at
just
it.
do it and go. For it.
If my phone goes off in my pocket, I respond with a text. I get yelled at by my mother. Then
right. Before, the one thing that I still struggle with, I still dislike answering the phone when people are with me. And I think that's been normalized now. Because I remember, like, when I first got a phone, like, even in college, it was, you were almost, if you were talking with, like, 3 other people and you answered the phone, it was almost rude yet, because it was like, oh, like, it must be. But now it's, like, almost normalized to the point. I have not figured out how to normalize it for myself yet. I will wait until I've kind of almost removed myself from the group or the conversation or the scenario I am in to go answer the phone, because I can't wrap my head yet around. But, but now that's like gone. Like, people just answer. Yeah, people just answer their phone whenever.
Like, if I was talking to you and your phone rang, the first thing I would say is, you can grab that.
Right.
Or do you have
but
to
you
get
gave
that?
me right. But you're essentially.
But that's
giving
my
me,
because I don't want people, because I know there's times that it's like, oh, like, you're on the other side. Like, it's a client, I got to take it.
I don't even like doing it. I've been in the car with, like, my girlfriend or my friends, and I don't even like answering it in the car with them, because it just kind of like breaks the bubble of, you know what I mean?
No, I totally get that. But there's also lots of, like, hey, can I call you right back?
Yeah.
Or, like, hey, can I call you back in a half hour?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, unless you're just going to let it ring out and then just text them. But
no, those are just some of those are some very fuddy-duddy, like, old school things that I've yet to really let go of. I struggle with that.
But so put yourself on the other side. Would you? So if we were talking and my phone rang and I was like, listen, I got to grab this, you wouldn't be upset at all.
I wouldn't be upset at all, but you just kind of do it.
So why would you be Why do you think people would be upset at you? Because
I don't think
you wouldn't be upset with them.
It's a great question. I don't think it's so much that people are upset with me. It's more just like the court. It's look at it. I don't need to hold the door for you. Like, no one expects me to hold the door, but you just kind of do it. Like, it's just the nice thing, and you just kind of do it. I have yet to let go that, like, answering the phone in front of 2 people is acceptable. Like, to me, it's like holding the door. You just kind of do it. You just kind of don't answer the phone yet, because eventually you're going to walk away from a conversation and you can call them. Like, I don't know.
What if it's your parents?
No, they'll tell you. There's a lot of times where they have to wait. Like, it's not,
I always answer.
Really?
Because you just never know.
Yeah, but when it comes to that kind of stuff, like earlier you were talking about medical stuff and you go into the doctor and stuff, you're a little more pessimistic about that, whereas I'm a little more optimistic about that.
No, I get it.
I typically, with that stuff, you and I are different. I don't go worst case scenario first. You get to the worst case way faster than I do typically.
I do.
Yes.
And the day, and it's just kind of been, ever since my parents retired.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, my dad calls me, once in every time Haley's Comet comes around is when my dad calls. Like, it's important,
Mm-hmm.
But, my mom calls for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
Important or unimportant. But I've always been like, just in case. I'm always answering just in case. And then I'll tell her, hey, I'll call you back. But I'm always answering. And the one day she called me and said, I just cut my leg and I can't get it to stop. Can you take me to the emergency room? And that has forever been the validation of, because what if I was at work and I wasn't that busy, but I wasn't, and I was just, but I've, because of maybe a little bit of my worrisome pessimism, like, that's my first thing. Like, I'll answer the phone from people at times and I don't say hello, I say, what's wrong?
I'm shocked you haven't answered the phone on air yet.
Depending who called, I might.
After a year of doing this, I'm shocked you haven't done it yet.
There are, like, when people call, there are times that people call me that have not called and whatever, and I will answer the phone and say, hey, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Because and they're just like, sometimes they're like, well, nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, well, I don't know. You never call me. So I figured something bad had happened. So anyway, yes.
Yeah.
Next.
Karen says, as for the phones, I wish when I am speaking to someone to know they're listening to me and not reading a message on their Apple Watch. I totally agree. I totally agree. I do it to you sometimes. We'll be sitting here in the office and you'll be telling me a story and I'll just kind of be puttering on the computers. And every once in a while I get nervous because I'm like, I hope he knows. Like I'll turn and look at you just because I want you to know like I'm still listening.
You get nervous because you're like, I hope he can't tell that I'm ignoring him, even though I'm ignoring him.
No, it's not like that at all.
Every now and then you focus your attention back to me just long enough to see if I'm still talking.
Oh no, I know you're talking. it's
whatever.
Not a challenge.
Whatever. I don't talk that much.
Let's recap really quick. Tomorrow is the first day we're going to have the drawing. In order to be a winner on our 12 days of giveaways, you can like this video, you can comment on this video, or you can share this video. Tomorrow, we are going to pick a winner from each group. So we're going to pick one person that liked the video, one person that commented on the video, and one person that shared it. Those 3 people will spin the wheel for them. And they're going to get a nice gift card somewhere. We have some different sponsors and some familiar ones. Weiss Markets, Rainbow Carpets, Willard's, Moon and Raven, Tony's Deli, Chaos Fun Zone, the CBD store. And I know there's some other ones that we're going to get to talk about here in the next couple of days as well.
What is your favorite Christmas looking forward to-ish thing?
I don't know if I have like a set favorite. I know for me, it used to be getting to go home. I told you we had this weird, it sounds weird calling it weird. We had this tradition where my friends would always come over on Christmas night.
Yes.
And we started that when I was in high school. So I want to say I was 14 or 15. I couldn't drive yet. But I had a couple of friends that lived on the street. They would come over Christmas night. My parents would go to bed and we would just hang out. And I have some of the greatest friends in the world. We continued that tradition. Really, COVID ended the tradition. We did that tradition until we were in our early 30s. I had friends with wives, with kids that were still coming to my house on Christmas night to drink and be merry and
were they bringing the wives and kids?
Most of them were not.
Oh, that's why they were coming. The ones who had wives and kids were the first ones to show.
I don't know about that, but it was. I mean, this tradition went on almost 20 years, and it survived. It survived college. It survived jobs.
Are you trying to reignite it?
We'll see. I don't think this year we can. I'm homeless, so I don't know if this year.
Well, but it was at your parents' house.
It was at my parents' house. The problem with
I get it.
The problem with my parents' house is it's in Blossburg. The crazy part is the way it just all kind of kept working. Like I was in Lock Haven, then I was in Williamsport. And so it always ended up being a central place, whether people were in Harrisburg or in Blossburg.
Oh, so it was at your place, not necessarily back home.
It was at my parents' until probably my mid-20s.
Oh, so it wasn't always there. Then it just went wherever you went.
Yeah, and then eventually when we dispersed, I was fortunate enough that I kind of lived in the middle of where everybody was living. Mm-hmm. So it still kind of became this thing. So kudos to the guys that kept it going. COVID kind of ended that. I told you the other day, I have a group of friends. There's like 7 kind of in a circle. 3 years ago, there were 0 babies. By the end of 2022, there will be 8.
From 0 to 8 in 3 years?
Yes. So we are, my friends are busy.
Life as they knew it has ended.
Life as they know it has changed. I won't throw them under the bus.
No. As they knew it is over. And now it's a new life and it's different.
So when you say like, what are the things I look forward to that was something that I think there's little things that we never get to say out loud that we just very much appreciated. And that is one of those things, like, I cannot imagine in the world there is a scenario similar to that one. Honestly, I think that was one of a kind. And I felt very, very fortunate that for almost 20 years, like that happened.
I'll tell you one for me that is now just starting, and it will probably be this way forever, is now because the first year my oldest daughter has been away at college. My second daughter is a senior in high school. So from here on out, the Christmas season is going to be an extended time that all my kids are around.
Yeah.
And because even it may be that way in summers, it may not be. depending on if they do
Sure.
internships or if they come home or if they take classes, and you
Yeah.
know, depending. But Christmas is the time that all the college kids still come home.
Yeah.
And so it'll be, and it's not, you know, she was just home for Thanksgiving and she was home for a week and she's home for a weekend here and a weekend there.
Yeah.
But for an extended, like she'll be home for, I don't know when they go back, at least 3 weeks.
Right.
So that is something that that will change for the Christmas season for me now.
Yeah.
For the next decade.
Yep. I'll miss there's some things like my mom does the stocking, and the stocking is, you know what's going to be in it.
Yes.
Right? Like, you know, you're going to get the toothbrush and the socks and you're going to get the candy, and like, but there's something about the stocking now. She still does it. And it's almost like you're playing along, but you also, in the back of your head, you kind of want it. Does that make sense?
No, I know. I'll tell you what's stupid about your stocking thing. My aunt, my dad's sister, hand-stitched stockings for us when we were born. And my brother had one that said, you know, Michael, it probably says Michael, 1968, because he was born in 68, Mark, 1971. And I love these things. And it was just every year they came out. And my parents didn't have them.
Sure.
It was just, so then when my kids were born, I'm like, calling my, hey, just so you know, we need one now that says, you know, London 2003.
Okay.
Was London born in 2003?
I don't know.
She's
not my kid.
She's 18, 19, 20. I should know this.
Yeah.
And no, Lainey's born in 2003. London was born in 20 because she's born right after. So, but each year, and then with my son, it's like, I promise I'm getting snipped. This is the last one, but we need one more. It needs to say James 2006. So it's 01, 03, and 06.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal to get all of those. And they're not all the same, but they're similar. And as stupid as that is, like, that was really important to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with you. So there's a lot more. We're going to get to talk about a lot more of them here the next couple of days. Anything else before we go?
No, I just picked up my Christmas cards this morning.
Nice. It's exciting.
For the first year, the kids were like, we'll come up with the idea. We'll come up with the...
That's pretty cool.
And so they're not bad. I had no artistic input to it. And you'll be able to see when you get it.
Okay.
You're like, why? Like, I didn't even take the picture.
Okay.
They're like, we'll do it. We got it. It'll be good. They sent a couple. I was like, these suck. Can you please do better? And then they did better. And now they're good. So, and I just picked them up this morning. They'll be going out. The Christmas card is very important to me too.
You telling your kids that they sucked is...
Listen, if you saw the first batch of, like, the 15-year-old was really not putting in his best effort to just, how hard is it? Just smile and look like you're actually enjoying the moment.
Remember the other day we said about, like, mowing the lawn and that gap between, like, the dad that really doesn't want anyone mowing their lawn?
Yes.
I bet you there's some parents that the Christmas card is like that. Like, if the kids were like, can we make the mom or dad would kind of be like, I got the Christmas card.
Oh, that's
like,
me.
The Christmas card's my
As
thing.
we have actually, guys, this is a stupid story, but just the Christmas card has been my baby forever. It is, I'm the guy sitting at the kiosk and picking out the whatever. It has been my baby. And for my kids have now gotten old enough to think that they have a say.
Sure.
And they're like, well, let's do this and let's do this. And now I totally understand why bands break up, because when you have 4 people that are just, and you have teenagers too. So every idea that's not theirs is stupid, and all their ideas are brilliant. And we've gotten in like these knockdown drag out. But I was like, listen, you all have Instagram accounts. You all have social media. You can post whatever Christmas card you want. This is the card that's going to my friends and colleagues. So I need to like it. That's how it works. Once we get done with this, you all can go, you know, you can shove your finger up your nose for all I care for your Christmas card.
Sure.
But mine is going to be one that I like, that I'm proud to send to my friends.
I love that in your parenting life, the Christmas card is the foot in the ground. That is the...
I have put my foot in the ground. And we have had tears multiple times. Did I ever tell you the one? I wanted to take it outside. And it was late in the year and we were running out of warm days and I wanted to get it done and it was going to be warm before school, and I just wanted the kids to get, out in the yard or whatever. Sure. My son was about 6 or 7, and he was going with the tough guy look and he was just like, and they're going to be late for school. And I knew it was the last warm day, so I'm feeling we got to get going. To the point that I yelled, "Would you just smile?" And then tears started flowing, and that was the end of that. So, oh yes, we've had tears over the Christmas card, which is what Christmas season is all about. No, don't get me wrong.
I'm sure. But thank you guys for watching today's Midday Show. Again, 12 days of giveaways. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video for a chance to be in the drawing tomorrow. We're going to pick one person who liked, one person who commented, and one person who shared. And we're going to do that every weekday for the next 12 weekdays leading up to Christmas.
We should do one. We should do a show just on those, like the worst
Christmas
present shop. Like there shouldn't be arguments and fights and tears over the Christmas card. Yet we have had multiple. I mean, how many of these things that totally defeat the purpose of the holiday season, and we have fights and arguments and tears and things like that?
We no actual fights or tears, but my sister and I both made these angels, and I will tell that story some point here in the next 12 days.
And you fight over who gets the top of the tree?
It's pretty good. Pretty good rivalry.
I mean, that's what it's all about. That is what the Christmas season is all about. My angel is better than yours.
Yep.
And mine should get the top of the tree.
Yep, that's what it comes down to.
I'm sure there are. Yes, I'm sure. Oh, here's my last question for you. No, I'll say that.
No, go ahead. You can.
Is it too for like Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase? And what was the one that the Muppets for you? Is it too early yet, or are you saving that, or is it?
I'm saving it. For me personally, it's a little early. I think you want to save it. You want it to be a little closer to Christmas. You probably want it to be just a little more Christmas spirit before you go. But who am I to tell people?
Well, no, that's why I was just asking. Because I always watch It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas Eve, but that's the tradition. It has to be Christmas Eve.
I'm trying to think. In the last week or so, we've only really watched 1 or 2 Christmassy things, and they weren't even really Christmassy things. One was the new Marvel thing on Disney Plus, which is Hawkeye. It just happens to be in a Christmas setting.
Okay.
And then the other one, we watched this new rom-com on Netflix about it. But again, even that's more rom-com-y than actual Christmas.
Because Christmas is essentially 2 weeks away.
Oh no, it's here. Like it is. I mean, I listen. I decorated for us. You didn't thank me. No, I decorated the screen for us. I even got you a little snow miser there.
You do. I noticed that. I thought
so. It is. Yes, it's here. I totally agree with you.
I think it's now about like by the time we get to the weekend, we're 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
If I get a chance for Die Hard or Christmas Vacation or whatever, we're going. You can't put them all off forever.
I won't knock you for that. Again, we'll see you tomorrow. Like, comment, share, chance to win. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching the Midday Show.
See ya.